So Benjamin just asked about a reverse mortgage. First off, if you are not aware of what a reverse mortgage is, I'm going to begin there. A reverse mortgage is a mortgage that an individual or individuals can take on their primary residence. First and foremost, it must be your primary residence. It can be one person or two people, and there is an age requirement. The age requirement of eligibility for a reverse mortgage is 62 years of age. So when you become the tender age of 62 and you have a primary residence, you meet the first eligibility requirement of a reverse mortgage. Here's the second eligibility requirement, or third actually. There must be 20% or more equity typically in your home. What do I mean by equity? If you owe $80,000 of a mortgage or on a mortgage, your home must be valued at $100,000 or greater. So if you owe $80,000 in a mortgage currently, and your home is valued at $100,000, you have what is called equity, which is 20% equity, because your home is worth more than what you owe on it, 20% equity. So you must be 62. It must be a primary residence that you own, and you must have a minimum, typically 20% or greater in equity. So now, how does one utilize a reverse mortgage, and what are the benefits of a reverse mortgage, and what are the downsides, the downside of a reverse mortgage? Here's the benefit of a reverse mortgage if you meet those criteria. If you take out another mortgage to wipe out the mortgage that you have, or of course, if you don't have a mortgage and your property is valued at $100,000, you have no mortgage. You can take out $80,000 of equity from your home, and you can put the $80,000 of equity or the $80,000 in your pocket. Or you can utilize the $80,000 of equity or the reverse mortgage like a credit card. It's a line of credit. So you can take out an $80,000 line of credit via a reverse mortgage, and you can write yourself checks when you desire. Here's the beautiful part. Here's the benefit of a reverse mortgage. You do not have to make a payment on a reverse mortgage while you are living. You do not make another mortgage payment during the remainder of your life. Benjamin, here's the downside, because clearly that's the upside. If you don't have a mortgage, your house is worth $100,000. You can put $80,000 in your pocket, and you can take the love of your life, like I would do, around the world and not worry about paying it back during your lifetime. That's the benefit of a reverse mortgage. Maybe you don't have $80,000 in equity. Maybe you only have $20,000 in equity. Maybe you don't want to pull any money out. Maybe you just want to pay off your mortgage and not have another mortgage payment for the rest of your life. People, if you're 62 years of age and you have 20% equity, I advise in most instances that you take the reverse mortgage. Take the reverse mortgage and enjoy your life. Most instances, I say take the reverse mortgage. What's the downside of a reverse mortgage? Let me tell you first what used to be the downside of a reverse mortgage, because people who are familiar may remember this was the downside of a reverse mortgage. The downside is this, or used to be, because they changed the law, Benjamin. Before, imagine your husband, I'm speaking to ladies, so your husband is 65, but you're 61. So your husband is eligible for the reverse mortgage, but you were only 61. You weren't eligible. So you did the reverse mortgage only in your husband's name. Well, now you don't have to make a mortgage payment for the rest of your husband's life. But then your husband passes before you, the wife. So now you're 68, and then your husband passes. Guess what? Now you're responsible for making mortgage payments again. A lot of people got in trouble and lost their homes because they had reverse mortgages only on one spouse. Here's the good news. They've changed that law. So now if you are married and it's your primary residence, and only one spouse meets the eligibility age, they will allow the other spouse to join in the reverse mortgage. So it doesn't matter. We just need one spouse who's eligible, and then that spouse is tacked on to the reverse mortgage. Well, here's the downside, Benjamin, because that's no longer a downside. Monica, please hold. Here is the downside potentially of a reverse mortgage, although I don't see it as a downside of a reverse mortgage. When I have clients who come in my office and they're struggling, they're seniors, they're struggling to make mortgage payments and so forth, and they haven't enjoyed their lives the way they desire. They want to travel. They want a new boat. They just want to sit and fish. I say, listen, if we can get rid of that $1,000, $1,200 mortgage payment a month by going forward and placing you in a reverse mortgage, you can change your life. You can enjoy the rest of your life, what you deserve. You can have the good life. But this is why a lot of clients tell me they don't want a reverse mortgage, because they want to make certain that they leave an inheritance to their children. Their concern is that they don't have a mortgage payment, or they have a low mortgage payment. And when you take the reverse mortgage out, interest will be accruing. So if you take a $50,000 reverse mortgage out on your home and you live another 10, 15, 20 years, interest will be accruing or growing on that. So $50,000 can turn into $70,000. The only part of maintaining your home you are responsible for maintaining during the reverse mortgage is your taxes and your homeowner's insurance. You continue to pay your taxes and your homeowner's insurance, but no mortgage. But the interest is growing. So people are concerned that upon their passing, their children will not inherit a home that is paid off. Or they're concerned that their children will not be able to, one, pay off the reverse mortgage upon their passing. Here's my response to you, and hear me clear. First and foremost, with the reverse mortgage, you can typically only access 80% of the equity in your home. So that leaves 20%. So let's say your house is worth $100,000. You take out a mortgage for $80,000. You use that money for your own benefit and care. Let's say you're concerned about your children's inheritance. Well, if you're concerned about your children's inheritance, don't spend all of the $80,000. So you take out the reverse mortgage. You receive $80,000. You call Attorney Fenton. Attorney Fenton sets up a living trust for your children. So now they're still going to get the money. But what we've done is we've taken away the burden of you having to make a mortgage payment if you had a mortgage. Or we've given you the benefit of being able to have some cash, access some capital. So if you pull the $80,000 out, you can keep $40,000 for yourself. You can put $40,000 in a living trust for your children. Here's the other part of it. Let's just say you don't have any, you only have 20% equity. So there is no money to place in your pocket. There is no money from the reverse mortgage to place in a living trust for the benefit of your children. You owe $80,000 on the property. It's worth $100,000, but you're making mortgage payments. A reverse mortgage will give you the opportunity to no longer make a mortgage payment for the rest of your life. Take it if you're struggling. If you're 65, 70 years old and you're living check to check and you have an opportunity to take a reverse mortgage, 90% of the time, Attorney Fenton is going to say, let's fill out the paperwork so you can live your life. People, do not be a martyr to your children. Do not become a martyr to your children. Because you've already given your children the greatest gift you can possibly give them. If your children are not self-sufficient. Now, I'm imagining that if you're 62, you don't have 10-year-olds. If your children can't take care of themselves now, it's 62 years of you being on earth, 70 years of you being on earth. What good do you think leaving $30,000, $40,000 to your children is going to do? Don't you think that you get greater happiness and relief from using your money yourself? I think so. So check this out. Let's just pretend that you can't pull any money out because you owe $80,000. But your house is worth $100,000. So we can relieve you of the pressures of having to make a monthly mortgage payment. Let's do that. So you're saying, well, now I'm not going to leave anything to my children. This is a myth. Why so? Because when you take the reverse mortgage out in 2016, there has to still be 20% equity. So your property is still $20,000 above water. There's $20,000 of value in your property. Do you expect to die the next day? Probably not. If you live another 10, 15 years from the date that you take out a reverse mortgage, don't you know that your property value historically would double in value? So if you take out $80,000 today, if you live another 10 years, your property value should be $200,000. So now let's look at the scenario. You owe $100,000 10 years from now because you took out $80,000 from a reverse mortgage. $20,000 in interest accrued over the next 10 years. So your reverse mortgage balance is $100,000. But remember, property value doubles historically every 10 years. So if you take it out today, you live another 10 years, what was $100,000 value of your house is now $200,000. If your kids or child don't know what to do to get that $100,000 of equity that you left for them in that home, then they were going to mess up 200,000 people. People, if you're struggling, call me. Let's talk about a reverse mortgage. Call my